remember hearing Brat for the first time?
Actually, I can, because just before it absolutely went massive and tipped over into the real mainstream, my eldest boy, Sonny, who's now 21, he's always someone that talks to me about music, but he said to me, Charli's just dropped a new album and I really think you should listen to it. It's really good. And this was like right at the beginning. So before it had kind of gone like wildfire. Sonny's like really interested in the aesthetic and in music. So he was saying the production's really cool, but also he liked the simplicity of the artwork and everything. And so he spoke to me about it first. And so I do actually remember that. But I think for me, the inspiration and the reason why I chose it for our chat is maybe slightly left of center in that some of it's quite literal. You know, I think as a pop album, I think the production is super exciting. So it's a bit like actually my husband, Richard, who works with me on a lot of stuff I do, he likened it a bit like, you know, when you go to a restaurant and sometimes you'll eat something and you'll think, well, this is good, but I could kind of make this myself. And other times you'll eat something and you'll think, wow, there's so many layers in this. And wow, I wasn't expecting that combination of flavors. And how have they done that? So I think in terms of the production and the boldness of that soundscape, that was inspiring in itself. I think what really worked was that she's just very honest about herself and poured a lot of her vulnerability and truth into the album. And I think, you know, the more music I make and the longer my career goes on, the more I appreciate dropping that slight temptation to second guess what people think what you think people want from you, or what would be the predictable next step. It's such a cliche and it's so easy to bloody do. I'm sure a lot of people you've spoken to would talk about, you know, when you start making music and your second album is usually one where you really trip up because you start thinking, okay, well, that stuff worked. And I'm going to go in the studio. I'm going to kind of do that again because people are like that. And you might even make music where you think, I'm not even sure that's completely doing it for me, but I think that's what people want from me, so I'll do that.
Right.
I've sort of been down those roads over the years, and with making my 8th album and running back into the arms of disco pop and thinking again about my relationship with that genre for the first time in a decade, because I'd done other stuff in the interim, I was thinking, what is it I want to do? Like, why now? Why this? What am I trying to say? What am I trying to put across? And listening to Charli's album and how it resonated for me as a listener, for her to just drop her guard and still sound powerful and bold, but just be honest and sometimes sit in something that's a little bit more uncomfortable and be completely herself. I just thought, that's really flipping cool. And I need to remember how important that is and how well it communicates.
Yeah, what you were saying about like the skill of the production and hearing something that you don't think anybody else could make, all of this stuff feels like you understand that she has influences. She talks about what her influences are, but it's all taking those ingredients and making it into her own. It's like packaging it in her own special way. It's not simple, but there's this kind of empty space that it's not like every single second needs to be filled with a new noise. And there are songs on this album that, have a bit more traditional pop production. There are like ballady songs that lean in a different direction. So she's going all over the place, but it's so fresh and so exciting. And, I think that is what made it this moment, is that it appealed to such a broad swath of people because of how diverse it is and how exciting it is. And
yeah, I agree with that. And I've never got bored of it. Every time I listen to it, I feel that same feeling of like, that sort of nice, like, pow, it sort of like kind of grabs you a little bit by the shoulders. And also I think part of the reason why I wanted to choose it to talk to you as well is because I think when she was making the album, and obviously initially it was all about this Brat summer and it was very much about youth culture. And look, I was introduced to it by my son, like my eldest boy who's in his 20s. And, I'm in my mid-40s. And I think it's quite nice to remember that things can travel outside of those generations as well. In fact, even my 6-year-old, who's my youngest, we were playing Sympathy as a Knife the other night, and he was like, this is my favorite song in the whole world. So I just think it's like healthy to remember that whilst pop music really has such a sweet spot with youth culture, but actually so much of it can travel. And I think that's the world we live in. And I suppose the relevance of that to me is that when I started out, I was sort of encouraged to think that it was only really about a youth culture, that it was for the young and for young artists. And now I'm seeing all these women of different age groups progressing their career and exploring new things. So, Fat Charlie's got songs on there about, do I want to have a baby? It's sort of coming to terms with herself and the uncomfortable things that maybe in her 20s sat differently now she enters her 30s. I just love the fact that the walls of, the boardroom of how I was told pop music had to stay within the younger part of your life. It's exciting seeing it all being dismantled. I like to think I'm playing my tiny part in that by sort of calling my album Perimenopop, which I can't say without laughing. But, look at what Lily Allen's just done, sitting within your own life, your own reflections, the good, the bad, the ugly, all those truths. People really like it. I was so encouraged to think that wasn't something you were supposed to bring into the room. It's just not true. How good is that?
Oh my God, that Lily Allen album is like, not to, get too far off topic, but great pop songs, and you can just listen to them as songs, but holy shit,
I know, it's quite intense, isn't it?
Yeah, and really just laying everything out there. She apparently recorded it in 10 days.
I heard that, yes.
Yeah.
Nuts. But I wouldn't be surprised if, the Brat's elements of that, I think it's part of maybe something you might be seeing more of. I think it's, when you do listen to something and you think, oh, okay, actually now someone's just laying it bare and I get it. And actually it makes me feel I can resonate with those topics. That means something to me as well. I just think it's healthy. And possibly in previous generations, this process has happened, but it's not something I've been aware of in my lifetime. When I was growing up, I felt like when pop artists went through, big milestones in life, they didn't necessarily enter their songwriting. I'm not casting any judgment on that. I think we're, some of my favorite pop artists they stay in quite a familiar space for a lot of what they do. But it's so exciting when people push it a little bit.
Yeah. And talking of switching gears back to Brat, So I, the song that she wrote as a tribute to Sophie, the complexity of not just writing a song about your grief, but talking about how in awe she was of her and how much regret she has for not having a closer personal relationship with her because she was so intimidated. And there's so many layers there. And as you were saying, opening up, sharing that much of yourself in your work is, a really incredible, really brave thing to do.
It is. And I wonder if she had any idea how big it would go, because some of the people I know that collaborated with her on the record said that she had a very sure idea of what she wanted, which I think is very exciting. She had this whole idea of what it would be. But Charli's career, while she was incredibly successful and respected and known, it hadn't tipped over into that, everybody knowing her name. So I wonder if maybe that played a part in just emboldening her, because you've got the possibility that it stays a diary entry. Do you know what I mean? But how empowering to feel part of something so big when you've shared that with people.
Yeah. And, thinking about her career starting at little, going to underground raves in London with her mom and dad, bringing her out, so she's not on her own DJing or whatever. And, this career that's built and built and built and built and has been different things. And it's working as a songwriter for other people or, being featured on other people's songs and then starting to develop a career, solo career in her own right. but I can't imagine what it must feel like to put something out that is this personal, that is this like detailed, and have it be, you know, turning from something that's like just this intimate thing for you to something that is for near literally every single person on the planet. It must be exciting and overwhelming.
Yeah, and I think you're part of quite a small club if you have that level of success with something. So I think for anybody, any artist, that's a real like eye of the tornado kind of a feeling, you know. But you know, you've got to seize it and you rise to it. And I think for Charli, the fact that she's been doing what she does for a long time, I remember watching her in like the Jazz Cafe in London, which is a really small venue, not that long ago. You know, you've done all the work, and then you're like, okay, let's go. It's right. You know, you got to hit the ground running with these things, really, which she really has, and bring a lot of other people into, you know, embolden it and be part of what it is. You know, she inviting people up on stage and really toasting it over and over with different people, different collaborators. That's exciting. Then you're part of something that's got that family aspect to it, I guess.
Yeah, and you know, both with the people, her collaborators and her friends, the people she knows personally, but also with her fans, and you know, really wanting to connect with her audience in a very clear, like loving way. And you know, like as a gay person, like the way that she talks about queer people, the like love that she shows for queer people means a lot to me. And the fact that she's so like, I mean, like yourself, we can say, just like has always been an ally and a supporter. So it's like seeing that stuff, seeing how she interacts with fans in her shows, and then also, like you said, the people who she collaborates with and how close she is with them and how much she includes them in what she's doing. It's great.
Yeah, it is really great. And actually, I wonder if, you know, you've touched on it, I wonder if that actually helps as well, because from my point of view, the support I've had from like the LGBTQ plus community has given me something that I don't think I was even told was like something to hope for, which is to feel safe. And when you're performing and putting yourself out there, feeling safe is of such an underrated quality. In that, you know, when you're on stage and losing your inhibitions or pushing things or just feeling like you're amongst a supportive group of people, maybe that helped her as well with thinking, maybe it's, you know, dropping this facade or letting people in on this way of thinking or these thoughts I have or this side of myself. Maybe that all fed in as well. I wouldn't be surprised, because it's definitely been something that's been part of my career like that. So I wonder, it'd be a good thing to be able to ask her one day.
Yeah, I mean, I was, you know, reading interviews and articles and stuff in preparation for this, and she has said explicitly, like, I wouldn't have a career without queer people. I know that that is a community that has always supported me and has always been a big part of why I get to do the things that I get to do, and just being really explicit about how she feels, and you know, feeling like that's a reciprocal relationship.
Yeah,
it's great. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Cheers to that. That's something we have in common.
yeah. But I think another aspect, maybe it doesn't. I think it does come through in the songwriting as well. But she is so cheeky. She has such a like dry sense of humor and is really funny and like seems like someone who, you know, you would want to hang out with. Like she's a good hang. And in the videos and in like all the promo that she did for it, it's just like so much of it is so silly, and so it is like kind of adds to the joyousness of experiencing it.
Yeah, I think even in the production there's a bit of that, you know, to sort of rip up the rule book in some aspects, and I think even some of her collaborators it brought them excitement that she'd go, well, how about if we did it this way, or upside down, or back to front, or put a gap here, like, you know, you said, that's playing as well. That playfulness is also about a little bit of wit, because it challenges your expectations and takes you in a different direction. That sort of stuff's really, really fun and so inventive to be creative in that way.
Yeah, yeah. And she, like, in interviews that I've read with her, she's not afraid to kind of take the piss out of herself as well. And she,
Yeah, I can see that, yeah.
She was talking about how much she uses Autotune, and she's like, you know, people use it as a tool and it does help to like correct pitch here and there.
Yeah,
She's like,
yeah.
I'm so lazy. I can't even be bothered to sing on key anymore. I just use it. She's like, my vices are cigarettes, booze, and Autotune. Sorry.
But look, I actually wondered if it might have inspired a bit. I know we've mentioned it already, but with Lily's album, like things like Ruminating, I was like, I wonder if, I mean, I know that Lily is like, you know, the sort of originator of it, but then there's a sort of dialogue or response because, I don't know, it just felt like maybe there's a little bit of like playful interaction with that as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
With all the
Definitely.
auto-tune on that.
Yeah. Yeah. But using Autotune almost as another instrument.
Definitely. Yeah.
Really
Definitely. And it's also a kind of, I think it lends to a sort of detachment that weirdly makes you sort of project emotion as well, which is not something you'd expect from something that removes that, you know, the humanity sometimes. But I think it actually sometimes works in reverse, that you sort of, you bridge the gap back to it. I don't know. I might be just talking about how I feel with it, but sometimes the sort of the coolness of auto-tune, as in like literally it's sort of quite, it takes a bit of warmth out sometimes and it turns it into something quite, almost quite icy. But that actually makes it really pleasing to your ear. When it soars, it's so clean and clear. It's got like real precision to it. And I find like that almost gives you like that extra like heartburst sometimes.
Yeah. And with, you know, there's a lot of different influences of different genres on this album, but like hyperpop in particular, and, you know, the stuff that she did with Sophie, there is this kind of futuristic, I mean, like iciness is definitely a word that came to mind for me too, but like, it's this like fresh, clean, I don't know, I can throw out a million adjectives for what I'm trying to say, but it is that feeling of like something new and maybe a heightened version of humanity, like a different, something like not quite human, but adjacent.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's true. And the whole thing kind of, it's so neat in your brain how it all kind of clicks together. It's a bit like when you mentioned about the gaps where she's not feeling like something needs to happen all the time, but that provides a sort of tension. And I think there's something about that kind of hyper pop precision that's really very satisfying.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
like that kind of feeling as well.
And having the like complex, layered production that comes from lots of different angles, but all of it on a foundation of like really solid, really engrossing storytelling.
Yeah, exactly.
And songs that can like make you dance.
Yeah.
You know, I've talked a lot on this show about like the ways that people listen to music, and some people listen to music and don't listen to the words, and it's just like an emotional thing, or they just like the, you know, the beat or whatever. And then some people really care about the lyrics and listen to them. And I think this is an album where you can do both of those things.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's
I even think there's some artists where you're more one or the other. Like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of like War on Drugs that I adore, but I have never really, I wouldn't be able to tell you all the words.
yeah.
Or Phoenix, or, you know, something where it's like, I love the way it makes me feel, but other things I'll be like, oh, wow, I really want to follow every word, or I want to learn this, or I'll even look the lyrics up. I mean, even ever since I was a kid, I've loved reading lyrics. But yeah, so I think it's even different artists give me different inclination for that. Sometimes I don't really want to know.
Yeah.
I know what I've got, what it's giving me, and that's enough for me.
Yeah. And sometimes it, depending on the diction of the artist, it can be quite difficult to even try.
Definitely. Yeah, absolutely. Or sometimes you think you know, and then you look it up and you're like, oh, What I thought it was better, actually.
Yeah. And that I think those are like joyful mistakes. I like.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, it can completely change the meaning of the song, but yeah, it's good. Do you have like standout tracks on this album, or specific moments that kind of hit harder than others?
I think from the get-go, Von Dutch, it's so satisfying. Sympathy is a Knife, 365. But as a soundscape, it's one of the few albums, because I can be a bit, my attention span is not always brilliant, but it's something I can put on from start to finish and just be very, very happy. And actually, I did end up working with a couple of collaborators from Brat for this album, for my album. And it's funny because actually it just shows you how fast things move, because I worked with someone called Finn Keen, who did Von Dutch actually, but we worked together in May. At the time it felt like it was still kind of moving up. That's not even that long ago, really. We're talking less than a year and a half, or approaching a year and a half. So it's pretty crazy, really, how quickly it suddenly set fire to become that summer sound, actually. And I hope Charlie wouldn't be a bit horrified that someone like me is into it. I know that my usual take on pop is quite firmly in a slightly more, I don't know, I suppose I'm quite a wholesome kind of gal. I'm quite optimistic, but I do like to put my reality into music. And I think when it came to doing this album in particular, I really thought I was genuinely inspired. I thought now is not the time to be safe. I need to be a bit ballsy and bold and actually, create my own space here and enjoy that and really give myself permission to be myself. So, if Charlie's going out there and calling herself a brat and owning all of those things that come with it, then I want to do the same thing for where I found myself, because I was in a very strange position with a song from my early 20s having this resurgence, which it's a song I still sing. So Murder on the Dance Floor is a really good friend of mine. I don't think I've ever done a gig since 2001 and not sung Murder on the Dance Floor. Like, really good friend. But because it had this resurgence, I was actually engaging again with its inception. I was thinking again about, the songwriting, the time in the studio singing it, the day we did the video. And I think it was making me think a bit about that was me then. And then I'm standing on stage, singing at the front when 21-year-old me on a video screen behind me, and how do you, especially in America, for example, where I'd never even had a hit before. And then suddenly Murder on the Dance Floor was my new old song, and people say, how are you going to follow up Murder on Dance Floor? I'm like, well, I'm not, am I? I've had 20 years since then, and I've already had that conversation about following that up. So being inspired by Brat, I was like, well, if I call it Perimenopop, and if I frame these songs within my actual reality, I don't try and pick up where Murder left off, but 20 plus years later, because that's nonsense. I can then stand on stage as the woman I am now, and I'm owning that reality. And I don't think I realized how important that was until I'd named it, actually. And I thought, I really did need to do that. And I did genuinely think what Charlie did was such a brilliant sweep with that. I thought I need to take a little leaf out of that, really, because it's cool.
Yeah. And it, became this phenomenon that wasn't limited to the album, and just having the Brat artwork appropriated by everyone, everything,
Yeah. I mean, my son loved that as well. He was like, Sonny was, as soon as he came out, he was like, Mummy, you've got to check out Charli xcx's new album. And he said, the artwork is just nothing. And he was showing me and everything. And I should have checked before I spoke to you, because I can't remember when it came out. But I remember him telling me about it. And I remember as well thinking, what? I should check that out, because even though he talks to me about music all the time, he'd actually bothered to text me about it. And I was like, oh, he must really think this is something I need to hear about.
Yeah.
I should try and find it for you.
June 2024 was when
Okay.
the album was released. So I'm assuming, singles for a few months before that. But
Cool.
yeah.
Oh, okay. So that means when I worked with Finn, the album was, maybe it was just one of the singles that had come out. Trying to get my bearings. So hard to keep a hold of chronology sometimes. It's all so washy in my head.
I know.
Maybe the album had just come out and I worked with him in June. But I know that it was right on the bit where people were applauding it and talking about it as being a good album, but it was before it turned into this, as you say, this phenomenon.
Yeah.
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 And actually is a very neat little full circle.
Mhm.
I know that Charli xcx has now done all the music for Wuthering Heights, which is
yeah.
Emerald Fennell's movie after Saltburn,
Yeah,
which was what. So
Mhm.
there's some
Yes.
nice parallels in there too.
Yeah.
I wonder who'll pick up the baton after Charli.
We will we'll have to wait and see. Yeah.
We
it's,
will.
I think that is a lovely full circle connection to finish up on. Before we go, I am not the kind of person who likes sports of any kind, so I don't have a team to support. So my version of that is supporting the artists that I love. I am a British citizen. I lived in London. I spent my 20s and early 30s in London. We have a big British expat community here that I'm a part of. And seeing what has happened for you in the last, year or two has been such a joy for all of us, like cheering you on and saying how wonderful we think this is. And, a bunch of us, to the Webster Hall gig last year.
Oh,
and it was
cool.
just
Oh,
pure
thank you.
joy.
That was really special for me. That was a special gig.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
congratulations. Well deserved. This is
Thank you.
really wonderful to see.
Oh, I really appreciate that. That's really sweet. Yeah, it's bonkers, isn't it?
But, in the most wonderful way.
Bonkers.
So,
Yeah, good bonkers. That's what I like about what I do. Like, it can still surprise me after all these years.
yeah.
Keeps the romance alive.
Yes, indeed. Well, thank you so much for making time for
My
me. This has
pleasure.
been so much fun.
Yeah, same to you. What time is it in New York?
It
not too-
is 7:15.
Oh, okay, cool. The night is young.
Exactly. Yeah.
Perfect.
Well, thanks again. This has been wonderful.
Oh, lovely to talk to you. And
You too.
take care.
Yeah.
Thank you, Adam.
Hey, do you want more conversations with incredible people talking about the movies and music they love? Then subscribe to the Spark Parade YouTube channel.